Moment for our toolkit session. All right, it is the top of the hour, and welcome to Preparing for Your Career Checklist. My name is Jessica Colt. I am one of the Senior Career Services Advisors here with Rasmussen University, and I am joined by my colleague Amy Idas, another one of our Senior Career Services Advisors that will be jumping on here in just a few moments. And there's a couple guests that are part of this event as well that we will be introducing later in our discussion. Um, the event is recorded, so you're welcome to take notes. And certainly as questions pop up in your mind, feel free to put those in chat for our Q&A that we're going to have at the end. But without further ado, let's jump into what we're going to be going through today. All right, so we promised a checklist and we have one. So we are going to be going through an overview of how you can effectively research and the reason you should be researching your career, um, highlighting realistic expectations, not just for you, but of your career and certainly of your future. And then we're going to go segue into how to build and bridge your professional network of connections and leverage those connections as you are navigating your career path. And then the most common question, or one of the most common questions I hear from students and graduates that I engage with is, how do I gain real world experience? Well, we're going to help you solve that today and give you some guidelines on what you can do so that you can start ascertaining some of that experience while you're finishing your program as a new graduate or someone that might be joining us from the community that's considering a career change. And then, as I promised, we have a couple more guests that have joined our session today from our library team that are going to go through a tutorial on how you, as a student and graduate of Rasmussen, can leverage our library resources through this checklist process. And now I am going to pass the ball, if you will, to my friend Amy Idas.
Thank you, Jess. So we're here to talk about careers today, and there are a number of variations of the definition of what a career is. For instance, an occupation undertaken for a significant period of time in a person's life and with opportunities for progress, or a period of time spent in a job or profession. And those are thanks to the Oxford and Merriam-Webster dictionaries. A career could mean working as anything such as a nurse or a veterinary assistant, a hairstylist, or even a cashier or server. Or how about someone who cleans windows on high-rise buildings? I saw a news story about that the other day and I thought that certainly isn't for everybody, but there are people who do it as their career. But when you look at a career with these definitions in mind, it could be any job as long as a person is in the job for a period of time, enjoys it, is successful in it, and can continue to develop professionally and even advance if that's what they desire. And that's my main point. A career is not just a job title one wants to have. It has to be something you want to immerse yourself in, continue to learn about, continue to excel and progress in. And it has to be something that interests you and holds your attention, not just an action you perform each day. I don't care how much money you're making. If you don't like the work, you won't stay there. So think about these high rise window cleaners. I thought they have got to get a rush out of performing what seems like such a boring, mundane chore, but so high up in the air. They have to have determination, and I think they have to be brave to make that a career, if you ask me. So there's all kinds of careers out there to think about, and they all have value. But while it may take different turns along the way, your career is definitely something that is personal to you. So to figure out what's a good fit for a career and what interests you, you've got to keep asking yourself some questions. First of all, would I enjoy this type of work? And there are all kinds of assessments out there that may give you some direction. And for instance, there's one on the rasmussen.edu site that you can check out. Then think, would I be good at this? And one way to determine this is to consider what you like doing as hobbies and why do you like those things? And also to think back what classes that you excelled in during grade school and high school, and even if you've had previous college, what were you more comfortable with? Math and science, English, the arts? What clicked and came easily to you? All those little pieces can take you on a pathway. Now, if you've decided on a career that interests you, you need to consider how well the career will fit with what you like and what you're good at. And this is also going to take some research. I'll be saying research a lot, but there are many places to do career research. Check out the occupation profiles for your career of interest in onet.com, and Career One Stop is another place that you can do some research. And also at the bottom of this slide, you see links that can help you research careers and prepare for your job search. You'll find these links in your student portal. Click on resources and then click on the career services page, and you'll find these at the bottom. Now, look for a variety of jobs within the career area that you are interested in. In any career area, there is not just one job that everybody goes into. To really learn about the different job functions in a career area, I suggest reading job postings. I know it doesn't sound exciting, but it is where you get a lot of information. And I mean, don't just skim them. Read them completely. A lot of times the really important qualifications and education are at the end of the posting. So you've got to get all the way down. It's important to consider how much education is needed and how long that may take and at what approximate cost. And consider education necessary not only for that dream job that you see, but also for entry level. You may be able to start in a job in your career area with little to no experience, but then also, again, keep in mind what I need as far as education and experience to proceed on to that dream job. And again, read the postings all the way through. That's going to give you that information. Consider how you'll get that education. Do you need to be in person? Can you get it online? Again, what are these postings asking for? Learn about where and how you can get the needed education. And hopefully we have it all right here at Rasmussen University. And you do have to think about the earning potential. Money is important. It isn't everything, but it is important. So you can research average wage information in your area, and we recommend the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov, as a great resource for that. You also have to consider, are there jobs in this career available in my area? Excuse me. Now, we all have expectations. We have expectations of ourselves and of others and of what we expect from a career, but how do we know if they are realistic? Again, we have to ask ourselves some questions. So, what are my career expectations? Where did they come from? Was it a picture you formed in your head based on a job title you saw or on a TV show? Where's the proof that that expectation that you formed is realistic? Did you talk to someone in the field? Did you find out how they got started? If not, I highly recommend doing so. Also, again, did you research a variety of job descriptions in the field? Know about the variety of things available in the field when you are considering a career. And as mentioned earlier, there isn't only one job everyone goes into in a career field. So think about it. In every field, there are all kinds of areas of specialization, or levels of management that you can go into. So everybody kind of goes a different way. The truth is, though, that you can't really know what you're good at and what you're going to enjoy until you are in the field. And this is why it's important to try to start working entry level in the field you have chosen as early as possible, if at all possible, if it fits your situation. Not everyone can do that. But in fact, working in something related to your chosen field while in school is one of the best ways to leverage connections and start building your network and your experience base, which will in turn maximize your learning experience. And we have more on that later. Ultimately, keep in mind that jobs change every day, such as the educational requirements or the technology that's being used or newly implemented. And it's your responsibility to keep up on what's coming next in the field that you are looking at. Ultimately, you know also when you have found a career that fits, when you want to keep learning about it. And now is the time also to start creating or reworking your resume so it's ready to go. And as you grow in your career, keep adding to that resume and to your list of references and connections. It's also up to you to understand how your education currently, your experiences, your skills, and your attributes fit with the jobs you'll pursue and interview for. Don't think, I don't have any experience in this field, because we hear that a lot in career services, but that's not how we want to portray ourselves. Instead, consider, well, I'm just starting out in this field, but here are some of the past experiences and attributes and education that do make me a good fit and will allow me to move right into this job. That's where you have to get. And as mentioned earlier, there are some who believe you complete a program or a degree and you, boom, get the job you want, and that is it. And that isn't it. If you're new to a field, it is ultimately the employer who decides what you're ready for in their organization. Therefore, you should see your career as a marathon where you're going mile after mile, moving on, but not a quick sprint from A to Z. To sum it up, as you run this marathon, keep up on what's happening in your field as far as trends and changes in educational requirements and in the salary ranges. And there's a lot of changes in salaries going on right now in our job market. And also be aware of technology being used and implemented. And this research will help you know what steps you need to take next in your own personal, professional development, because that's your responsibility too, so that you can move forward in your career. Now, a little earlier, I mentioned how working in your chosen field while still in school, if you can, or something related, how that will help you start building your network and leverage connections in your field. And Jessica is now going to delve into that a little more. Over to you, Jessica.
Thanks so much, Amy. I appreciate that. So, as Amy introduced, it's really important to consider what network you currently have, your professional network, and how you can maximize and leverage those connections. So, what are we talking about here? How can we get started? As a student, you're able to start building rapport with your faculty and your academic leadership, ascertain information about how they've gone through their career path that has brought them to the point with which they are at that point today in their career. And this is where you can build those references. I know Amy talked about that. This is an important piece of that the job search process. These individuals are assets for you to have, not only as mentors, but certainly as references in your job search. Also, whether it be through your academic program that you are currently pursuing, have had in the past, or are considering, it's really important for you to look at those clinical experiences that you've had, any externships or internships that may have been built in part of your program, or perhaps any internships you've taken advantage as a new graduate of a degree program. And when we talk about maximizing, this is again where you can build those relationships. So perhaps you got some experiences from places that you don't necessarily see yourself working at, whether that be immediately or even down the road in your career path. Those individuals that you come in contact with, guess what? They have their own network of connections. And they can really build and bridge some of the connections you have. It's more than appropriate to, again, have conversations with perhaps members of a healthcare team if you're if you're in a healthcare program or at a facility that you are getting your early childhood education externship hours in. And talking about what your career path is hearing what theirs was, and seeing if they have some connections that they can help you bridge as you navigate again on your own personal career path. One thing that we want to make sure that we're not negating, though, is how you can expand that network in your community. And we're not just talking about in person community, we're also talking about your virtual or your social media presence. And it's going to be really important for you to consider, if I get Googled, what are people going to come across? One of the first things they should come across is your LinkedIn profile, period. Um, I uh, I'm gonna just really assert that for you today. If there's nothing more that you recall right away before you check out the recording and everything, I hope you um, consider looking at your LinkedIn account on how you can improve it, or look at creating one. And the reason being is it's a great way for you to build connections virtually with specific employers, follow employers, and again, ascertain job opportunities through this virtual social media presence. And this is a great platform for you to do that. You might be saying, Jessica, I am a career changer. I don't have any connections. I don't know where to begin. Not to worry. Whether you're a student or a graduate or someone in the community, you're able to access Rasmussen University's Library and Learning Services YouTube channel and check out our employer spotlights. There, we have a variety of employers that um, look out for our students and graduates for hiring opportunities, certainly, but where they present themselves as professionals that you can look for then on LinkedIn and make connections through those invitations. So consider that as you start building those connections through LinkedIn. Another area that you need to make sure you're considering are your fellow classmates or your colleagues. Um, they may be in the same place that you are. You may come across people that are career changers, you're all on the same page, or you may come across, and you're very likely going to come across individuals that are in different parts of their career, maybe related to the career path that you are pursuing. And it's going to be very advantageous of you to consider engaging and connecting with them. And I realize that our student body, all of our students and graduates at some point in their program within Rasmussen University had some online presence. But you're, again, able to make those connections through discussion posts, through email, through your classes, through projects, and continue carrying those on throughout. Once you leave Rasmussen and you are a graduate, don't negate those faculty, academic leaders, as well as your classmates. And then consider your current or former coworkers, managers, and supervisors. You may be surprised where they're at today, and or who they may know that's related again to your desired career path. So it's a great way for you to have conversations with them if they're in a related career or in the career trajectory you're looking for, or certainly to help bridge connections. And the last piece of that checklist is gaining real world experience. Amy brought up certainly an element as it translates to considering part-time employment or employment opportunities if you can, if it's something that can be managed while you're in school. Those are certainly things that you can look at. As Amy mentioned, there are many career paths that at the entry level require minimal experience and or minimal education as well. But we do recognize that that may not be applicable to all. There are certainly pieces that you can consider even as a new graduate. So perhaps you're in a program that, or you've recently graduated and you are studying for an exam. There may be an opportunity for you to explore any type of part-time employment opportunity or even job shadow that you can do at that time. And when we talk about job shadow, it would be an opportunity for you to essentially visit an employer or engage even virtually what their day-to-day or part of their day or for an extended period of time what that would look like, really understanding the ins and the outs of what that specific job position feels like day in the life, if you will. Volunteerism is another great opportunity to gain real world experience. Um, what you will have the opportunity to do is certainly, again, that's a great way to build some of those networks and those connections. But in terms of real world experience, a lot of people negate unpaid work as experience. You're ascertaining lots of different skills when you are working as a volunteer. You're building relationships. You are, especially if it's specific to the industry you're pursuing. There's a lot of nonprofits in many different industries or related industries or that are related to a variety of career paths. And so it's a great opportunity for you to see if there are volunteer opportunities in your backyard that allow you to gain some of that experience and that you can then have reflective not only on your resume, but as you're engaging with employers and talking through the interview process. Professional associations is something that really can help you stand apart from others. They're oftentimes at the local, state, national, even international level and are highly regarded, whether that be through your local chamber or through a national organization like ANA, the American Nursing Association. There are associations for all industries, and within the industry, variety of professional career paths that you can explore. Some of these have a student cost. Some of them are things that are at a minimal cost as a new graduate. So there may be costs involved with some of these professional associations, but it's a great way for you to take advantage of conferences, professional development, again, gaining real world experience. And what you may also come across, and what's true, is that there are many of these associations that have features that are also open to non-members. So do some exploration with that as well. We talked about the part-time employment, but if job shadowing, for example, isn't an option, you can also have some real deep dive discussions in an interview kind of format with individuals that are working in your desired field. So perhaps from the employer spotlight that you checked out on that Library and Learning Services YouTube channel that Rasmussen University has, you came in contact with a particular employer that you connected on LinkedIn, and you sent them a message and said, would you have time to connect? I would really like to get to know, um, how you became a professional in your field. And then you could ask a series of questions, just as you kind of would be an observation for the job shadow. So that's another great way for you to engage in a virtual type of setting and still understand what a day in the life and what real world experience truly is for the profession you're pursuing. All right, I mentioned we have some guests that are going to share a little bit more about how you can maximize the resources that we have within our Rasmussen library.
And hello, everyone. My name is Suzanne Schriefer, and I am one of the librarians at Rasmussen. I support the School of Education as well as general education. And I'm joined today by my colleague, James Nayland, who will present some information a little bit later. But first of all, Amy and Jessica mentioned resources that you should consult or consider using as you explore careers and as you go through that job hunting and application interviewing process in finding a new career. And a lot of those resources are available in what we call our programmatic guides. Each school of study at Rasmussen University has a dedicated guide that really is a one-stop shop for students. It allows us to pull together resources that are relevant to students in that particular program. And I'm going to share my screen right now and show you how to, if you'll bear with me a minute. and I'm hoping everyone can see the student portal. This is the access point. So if you go to this resources area, this is also where you can find the career services page. I'll show that. So it's this little icon that looks like a chain link. Career services, if you go a little bit further down, you can click on the library link that will bring you to our library homepage. And perhaps the easiest way to get to these programmatic guides is to use the link in this word cloud. You'll see right here, there's the word guides. We click on that and it brings you to an alphabetical listing of our program and library and learning services related guides. You'll notice over here on the left, there are some guides with little asterisks in front of them. And those are the programmatic guides that I was describing. You'll see that there's one for the School of Business, Design, Education, Health Sciences, Justice Studies, Nursing, Technology. I am going to be showing you the guide today that is for general education, only because it is a little bit more generic. So I click on the link for that and it brings me to this guide. I do want to mention, however, that what I'm showing you today, as I mentioned, is very generic, very general. If you go to your program of interest guide, you will find more sort of career or sort of industry related resources. But to access the career resources information is I go to these tabs on the left side of the page. There's one titled Career Resources. I click on that and it brings me to the Career Resources page. This is where you're going to find a lot of resources that have been developed by the Career Services team for your use as you begin looking for career opportunities. You'll see that there is a box in the center of the page and there are tabs. They're arranged in sort of a natural progression. We're starting with Job Search Basics. And there are two resources here. Amy mentioned them earlier. They've both been developed by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. These are incredibly helpful resources. The first is the Occupational Outlet Handbook. I will click on that to just demo that real quickly. If you are, and I have to say, they include almost any career you can imagine in these, the Occupational Outlook Handbook. You can look at occupational groups. So say, for example, you're considering a career in healthcare. You can click on that link and they have an entire list of a variety of healthcare occupations. Let's say you're considering becoming a medical assistant. So you can click on that and it brings you to a page that gives you an overview so that you can see what the median pay was in 2020, what kind of education you need to enter the field, the number of jobs that were posted in 2020. And granted, this is a government site, so it takes a little while for that information to be posted, but this is really up-to-date information. Also, across the top, like I said, this is just a summary, but you can get more detailed information about what do medical assistants do? What type of work environment do they work in? How to become one. So this is where you can find out what kind of training and education and licensing you might need to have to enter that field. So that is a very helpful resource. The other one that I wanted to mention is ONET, and I know Amy referred to this earlier. This is also a Bureau of Labor Statistics resource. And again, they take a lot of the information that's in Occupational Outlook Handbook, but they've sort of reorganized it and added some tools that can help. So let's say I'm considering becoming a business manager. So I can just type that in the search box in the upper left, click search. I'm going to click on this. It brings up a series of job titles. I'm going to click on Administrative Services Manager. Again, it gives me a summary, but it also lists out what kind of technology skills does this particular career require? What kind of knowledge? This is what I like. What kind of skills does someone need to have to be successful in this field? What kind of abilities? what kind of work activities are involved. So this really gives you a more comprehensive sort of overview of that particular career. Again, a very helpful resource for someone considering or exploring career opportunities. Also on this page, you will find specific resources developed, as I mentioned, by the Career Services team on networking tips. This is a PDF of a document you can download. I'll just show you real quickly. Click on the link and it gives you some tips and suggestions and advice on how to develop your network to seek employment. There's also information on salary negotiation, how to protect yourself online, as well as how to spot employment discrimination, something you probably want to be aware of when you're considering a company. We also have at the bottom of many of these pages resources within the library collection at Rasmussen University. There is a tool called Learning Express that includes, again, some information about careers as well as prep exams for some of the certification exams associated with particular occupations. I know the NCLEX is one that pops to mind. We also have selected some ebook titles that you can link to right here on the page. We also have a resume page. You'll see that we have not only a resume guide, and when you look at this document, it walks you through step by step how you gather the material you need and how you present the information that you should include in a resume. And then there is a sample resume that you can view to use as a model. We also have a link to a new resource at Rasmussen University called Hiration. And this is a tool that you can use to create industry-specific resumes, and it also has built-in AI technology to help you review and improve your resume draft to make it just perfect for that potential job that you're considering. There's a cover letter page. Again, we offer 2 cover letter templates that you can view and use to create your resumes, as well as some additional information from our library. There's a job application process page. So you can see we're moving through this whole progression of the steps in identifying and finding a new position. We have a link here to the resource Job Connect. This is Rasmussen's online job board, and I'm sure Jessica and Amy can give you all kinds of information about how to effectively use this resource. But also there's an application tracker. This is an Excel document that you can use to list the potential employers you're contacting and keep track of your progress through the application process. And then there's a little helpful video about how to use Job Connect right here on the page. And then finally, for this top row of tabs, we have interview preparation. Again, I love this. There's a whole handout here about how to prepare for that interview. I probably shouldn't open up all these because it takes a little bit of time for them to load, at least here, but it sort of walks you through about how should you dress for your interview? What should you bring to the interview? And also gives some other helpful information. There is an interview question preparation guide. I know it's nice to view some potential questions that you might get in an interview situation so that you can prepare a response so you're not caught in the middle of an interview. There's an interview checklist. Also, an elevator pitch overview. This is a guide that instructs you how to create that little 1-minute pitch to sort of share if you happen to be in a situation where you want to share with someone your career interests and so on. You have that there. And then finally, there's a references page. This is not to be confused with the APA references page, which I have to admit is something I thought of immediately because I'm a librarian. But this is how you prepare that list of professional references that you would include in your resume, or if you're ever asked to provide references. And again, we have some other resources from our online collection. So at this point, I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to invite my colleague James Nalen to share some information about how you can do research on companies.
Thanks, Suzanne. I am now sharing my screen, and we're looking at that last tab on the Career Resources section, which is called Company Research. And here we have a few tools. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. We've got 4 different databases or tools listed out here. And each of these is really good for finding information about companies or organizations that you may wish to apply to for a job or a position. I will say that all of these have lots of different types of information, from financial information about the company or top executives and things like that. But in all cases, it's probably true that there's a lot more information on publicly traded companies than there is for private or nonprofit organizations. So a big company like Target that's publicly traded, it's much easier for one of these databases to kind of find information about this company's financial position or who's running the company in which positions than it is to find about a local nonprofit. But having said that, I think these are really, really useful for you've decided to apply for a job at such and such company. And it's just a great idea beyond looking at the company's website or maybe talking to people who work there, who have worked there, to take a look at something like this and try to figure out, well, is this company's financial position pretty good? Who's working there? And things like that. So I'm going to show you one of these, the one on top, which is called Mergent Intellect. And I'll click on there. And we'll connect. My computer's faster than Suzanne's, I think. I connected pretty quickly. So I'm going to put in the name of a company. This is actually a hospital system. And it happens to be one of the employers that we have an employer spotlight for that Jessica mentioned earlier. So this is a video that actually the video resides on the School of Nursing guide, but it's also on the YouTube channel for LLS. So it's called, and you do have to spell correctly. It's called North Shore University Health System, and you'll notice that a few different ones pop up. There may be other companies that have a similar name, or there may be subsidiaries of a company, so you have to watch out for that. But in this case, it's the first one, the one that has sales that are pretty significant here, looking at that sales number. So I'm going to click on that first one, and it gives me a couple of different tabs. The ones that I find most useful, I think, in a database like this are the company details, which give sort of a summary of the business line that the company's in, maybe the scale of the company, how many employees, and how many sites it has. There's some more key information as you scroll down the page here in terms of number of employees and where the company's located. Just a couple other tabs at the top, and then we'll come back to company details. The financial details, I think, is really great to look at. You know, is this company sinking or swimming, as it were? You know, what are the sales like? You can get a sense of how well the company's doing over the last, 5-10 years, something like that. The other really cool thing about this particular database is this executive details tab right here. So I'm going to click on that. And this is where you can take a look at, who's running this company, who's the president, who's, does it have, vice presidents for different divisions and things like that. But it does have a, off on the right-hand side, this refined by job function. So what I like is that I can scroll down and look, and they've got people identified in lots of different areas within the company, including people in human resources. So I'm going to scroll down to that and just show you what that looks like. And maybe I'll choose this human resources manager here. And then I'll scroll down a little bit again to find her. So I see that there's a human resources manager at this company, and her name is Elena something. I've chosen this name again. But it's nice to, if you're thinking of sending in a cover letter along with your application to a company, along with your resume, sometimes it's nice to put a personal name and title on that cover letter. I think it really personalizes your application to them. And it may be that you're applying to some other person within the company as well. So that's kind of a nice feature of this database. I'm just going to pop back to company details for a second. This is where we saw that summary and some basic financial details about North Shore University Health. And if I scroll down a little bit, without giving everybody vertigo here, they have a nice kind of live feed from Indeed, which is a huge job posting website. And you can get a sense of a lot of different job openings that this company has right now. Again, it's that live feed coming from Indeed. And you can choose any one of these. You can say, oh, I'm interested in respiratory therapist or, patient registration representative. And if you were to click on those, it brings you right over into Indeed. And that's where you could, apply or take a look at some more details about that position. So these are really great. It's a really great way to find lots of information about a company. I think maybe I forgot to mention that sometimes when I'm applying for a job, I go to an interview, and there's always a great chance to ask the employer some questions too. So this might help you generate some of those questions. You're looking at, maybe you see that, oh, their sales seem to be going down over the last 10 years. What's behind that? Not that you want to ask that directly, maybe in an interview, but just, some might help you think about, oh, what do I want to find out about this employer? Because they're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them to see if it's the right fit for you. So I would definitely check out these different tools that we've made available. Again, that one was Mergent Intellect, but there are a couple more on here that you could use to just do some basic company or organizational type research. I am now going to stop sharing my screen and turn this back over to Amy and Jessica. Sorry, got lost there a little bit. So I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, we are going to go ahead and open up for our Q&A session. And so any of you that have questions that are attending, please insert those in that Q&A box, and we will go ahead and start going through those questions. I do want to drive home something that's really important for our students and our graduates that are watching. We want you to certainly be comfortable and familiar with who your career services advisor is. And so the best place to find and identify who that is going, again, right through the portal. I know that Suzanne shared this at the beginning, clicking on that career services tab. And then Amy showed a snapshot of this during her presentation with the conducting your job search and some of those links. So those are the 7 that she had shared in hers. And then if you click on the contact us right here, this is where you're going to get comprehensive, up-to-date information regarding our career advisor staff, and then contact information that's certainly hyperlinked, that so you can go ahead and connect directly with myself if I am your career services advisor, Amy, or our other team. And so I want you just to certainly be familiarized and confident in getting those more industry specific, more personalized career path guidance.
Yes. Jessica, will you go back to the tabs again?
Yes.
Yes, because I got a question, someone asking, how do we ensure that we get the pay rate that we deserve?
All
And
right.
that is something, if you look in the landing the job right in the middle, there's a resource there that you can look at. Now, I feel like sometimes everybody wants an exact dollar amount, and that's just not how it works. You know, a hospital has to pay within a range to get nurses, but one hospital still can pay a little more than the other. So it's about being aware, do that research, and you know the range, and then you'll feel good about what you're getting. And you can
You're,
also
you know,
talk with your, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say you're absolutely right. Even within um, a specific city, and employer to employer, there's going to be even slight and for some drastic differences for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Another question that posed that is certainly important to highlight is, okay, I'm a graduate. Do these all go away? No. Everything that you have access to as a student in terms of accessing the student portal, the library and learning services, even our BrainFuse professional tutors that you have access to as a student, you're able to access those as a graduate as well. And so those are accessible in terms of the Rasmussen University, but we talked about resources that are linked from our library learning services that are accessible publicly. I mentioned the employer spotlights, for example, in the library and learning services YouTube channel. That's public. The ONET that Suzanne walked you through, as well as the reference to Indeed that James shared about. Of course, those are all public and accessible resources. So even if for those of you that are maybe joining as community members, some of the tools that we walked through are accessible to you as publicly as well. But for our students and our grads, the portal doesn't go away. Your student email stays, and so does the password associated with it.
Awesome. So good to know. I got another question here, and I get this from time to time. What are some good questions to ask at interviews? And it is a very good question. I like to keep things like real kind of between you and me, you know, like James said, you're interviewing each other really. And so I like to ask things like, you know, tell me what's your favorite thing about working for this company? Even how long have you been here? What position did you start in? Most importantly, something like, what are the next steps? What do I need to do next to get this job? And even though you're not saying, please give me this job, that's called asking for the job. That you're saying, okay, I want to know what do you need me to do next? Because I'm very, very interested in this job. So things like that, again, do that research. And I tend to keep it a little more general, a little lighter. That's my personality. Um, and James is more technical, I can tell, but that's okay. That's okay. Different interviews for different jobs require different things. So um, definitely, who am I going to be reporting to? What's my first day going to look like? And that type of thing. Just show interest. Do ask questions. Always ask a couple of questions. Have a couple of them written down. So great question.
All right, I know we have some great ones coming through. I have one here, and then I think that our librarians, or one of our librarians at least, are going to jump on in here shortly. But one thing that popped through was just kind of industry specific that I'll highlight for purposes of our discussion right now. But I do want you to note that some of the more specific things are going to be more appropriate for you to talk with your specific career services advisor. So one of the questions tied in with the difference between a PNA and an ADN, I believe the reference is a professional nursing associate's degree and then the associate degree of nursing. So essentially they are similar but different. right? So the professional nursing is referencing for the associate degree that's tied directly to your RN, whereas your associate's degree nursing is reference to an associate's degree of nursing that may apply to a different specific one. So your practical nursing associate's degree in there as well. So I'm not sure specifically, but I just wanted to preface that there's in all industries, there's a lot of different acronyms, and it's just important to understand that when we're talking about credentialing, that you understand degrees are the associate of science or the associate or the bachelor's of science for our Rasmussen University students and graduates. Some are associate associate of applied science as well. And then understanding that your credentials that may be tied to it are license that you pursue or from examinations. So just FYI on that, knowing that when you say I'm getting my RN degree, that would not be an accurate statement. So I like to just discuss that when we're looking at those two
I
pieces.
love that. I love that we talked about research so much today, because I think through the presentation we answered a lot of people's questions about, how do I find out about this company? And I just found a question here: how many entry-level options are really out there? First of all, that's going to depend on your field of study. And again, a good thing to do is talk with instructors, talk with your career services advisor, to understand what those entry level positions are called. And they can have a variety of job titles. In working, a personal care attendant could be a medical assistant. They could be exactly the same position but called something different. Read the requirements in that job posting. I see things like patient scheduling specialist or patient access. Those are relatively the same job. They can be entry level. They can also be beyond entry level. So don't get stuck on those job titles. A patient access representative at this hospital or clinic may have many more duties than the patient scheduling specialist. So, or the patient scheduling specialist at the other location could have a lot more duties. So that could be, a next level job. Don't just assume, oh, that's entry level or that kind of thing. Again, you've got to research the different varieties and see what's available. For me,
Absolutely.
I see a lot of jobs available out there these days, and employers are fighting for them, for employees. Definitely visit with your career services advisor for tips on how to find those, because they'll be the best to know, here's what you need to look for just to get started out.
This is Suzanne. I saw there was a question about how to meet with a librarian. We have a couple of avenues. If you have a really quick question, we staff a library chat service. Now, I know the career services team does the same thing. They have a chat service as well. So you can meet with us there. We also have something called Meet with a Librarian, and it's a one-on-one 30-minute meeting. And I'm going to put the link in the chat to an FAQ that gives instructions on how to meet with a librarian. So thank you for that question.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I know that there was another question that came through. This ties in specific with nursing. It ties in with, how do I specialize in nursing career? What are some resume and interview tips and how to secure a position in the department I'd want to work in? So one thing that I would want to drive home, again, I know that Suzanne and James talked about it, did a deep dive in that Gen Ed guide that we shared with you, is looking at your specific school of study. So there is a school of nursing guide within that School of Nursing Career Services. Again, it helps with some of those trajectory of the areas of nursing, gives you some guidelines on requirements. Another way that would be fantastic for, again, this is applicable for, I brought up the question ties to School of Nursing, but again, it applies to within School of Business, there are a variety of different paths. And so there's some, again, very specific resources that you can access within there. And then this is where it ties in beautifully from the library, where you can kind of do your own exploration, right? Your own personalized explanation. You can certainly connect and meet with the librarians for some guidance on some of those resources, but then scheduling that appointment, seeking out the customized, the personalized assistance from your career services advisor.
Absolutely. Jessica mentioned LinkedIn and how important that is. LinkedIn is one of the most widely used, it's basically an applicant tracking system. And so to use it, you don't just create a profile and expect things to happen. That, again, use it for the research, get keywords. So actually describe some of those past jobs that you've had. So recruiters who are out there, and they are out there all day, matching keywords to their job postings. You have to have keywords on your profile. So get to work on it. It is important to have a visual or virtual presence nowadays. They want to know, can you use software? So definitely get it out there, and your career services advisor will be happy to take a look at it for you and make suggestions. So just get the profile going, and then connect with your career services advisor. And one of the things I always say is the days of waiting for that job posting to pop up on Indeed or ZipRecruiter are over, because once that happens, everybody's applying for it. So again, being out there and following companies you're interested in. I've typed in a company name and then recruiter and see who the recruiters are for that company. Do I know any of them? So there's all kinds of things that you can look up with respect to that. And yeah, really important to go after things and make those connections. That's never changed from the old days, that those connections are the best way to go.
Absolutely. I do know that there's a lot of great questions coming through. Keep those coming, as we will be following up with not only the recording, but we have a great takeaway document that highlights, again, how to navigate through some of these resources that we've highlighted, and really drive home a lot of the questions. So you're not, your question may not be answered in this allotted time, because we're getting close to that 1 o'clock hour. But I just want to stress that you are fully supported, not only on the librarian side, from whether you have Suzanne or James, and then their team as well, that support the other schools of study, but certainly your career services advisor as well.
I also got another question, a question about the webinar being emailed. Yes, anybody who registered is going to get a link, and then they're also going to get a attachment toolkit that will kind of sum up, I guess, some of these things that we've talked about today. So definitely, and thanks everyone for registering. And again, we want to hear your questions in career services. I always tell my students and graduates, keep me employed, please. Keep in touch. I want to hear where you're going. And everybody's job search is different. There's really no two alike, and no two jobs exactly alike based on a job title. Just keep that in mind and have the conversations and do the research. You have an exciting future.
You know, I would just want to wrap up and say that it's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak, certainly with my fellow CSA co-captain Amy Idas, but I would be remiss if I didn't really say thank you so much to James Nalen and to Suzanne Schreiber for joining us and lending their expertise. One thing that I love about Rasmussen University is the large net of resources that our students and our graduates have throughout their program. And we hope that you are excited to engage with your career services advisor, your librarian, and take a peek at how to navigate the career path. James and Suzanne, any last minute comments you want to make as we wrap up today?
Probably keep them employed too.
Yes.
Reach out. Action equals
Exactly.
results, people. That's another one of my old sayings. I got a lot of them, but action equals
Yeah.
results. Find the answers.
And the other thing is just take advantage of the resources that are available, because you have a wealth of resources here that you can link to through the guides or directly through the career services page. So take advantage of those.
Fantastic. Well, we want to hear from you, everybody.
And you're all welcome. Thank you for joining the webinar. James, anything that you want to close up?
No, just I've just emphasized what you all have said, that there's just, I guess part of it is just that there's so much resources. So hopefully we've focused on at least the ones that have the most impact, you know, between stuff from career services or stuff through the library. But there is a lot more out there. But start with those. Don't get overwhelmed. And but there is a lot more if you need to do a deeper dive, I suppose.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, James. I wanted to just end. I came across moments before, I think it was by happenstance that I saw this, actually on social media. It referenced the 3 C's of life, choices, chances, and changes. And it says you must make a choice to take a chance or your life will never change. And so every single person that's joining the webinar is doing that today. And you need to recognize that you made a choice to join us, to recognize changes that you can make that ultimately can change your life. And so I thank all of you guys for taking your precious time with us, and have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Have fun on your marathon. Thank you.